A victimhood complex. That is what women will never tolerate in a man. A victimhood complex. But why? After all, don't women love victims? Don't they often play the victim themselves, the damsel in distress? Isn't that the stereotype, that women love complaining? Why would they find it unattractive if a man is always complaining? You need to understand that women are going to hold you as a man to a different standard than they would hold themselves or other women. Now, for some women, victimhood is like a hobby. They love it. They get together with a bunch of girlfriends and they bitch and complain. They have a grand old time. She's not just tolerating her girlfriends complaining. She is actively encouraging it. She's taking pleasure from it. She likes that feeling of victimhood. She loves to give and receive sympathy. But if you think that you can recreate that in your relationship, you're dead wrong. If you, as a man, spend all of your time complaining and painting yourself as a victim and talking endlessly about how unfair life has been to you, she is going to dump you so fast. Women don't want to date a clone of themselves. They already bring femininity to a relationship. They're dating so that they can bring into their lives what they lack, which is masculinity. Victimhood is not masculine. Complaining is not masculine. Masculinity is active. It solves problems. It gets stuff done. It doesn't just sit around and complain about how unfair everything is. When you're dating a woman and she is sizing you up as a potential long-term romantic partner, she is going to be paying very close attention to how you handle struggles and challenges, how you respond when problems arise. If you crumple and shrink and you resort to victimhood, she's going to give you a fake performance of sympathy, but then she's going to go off with a more masculine guy. But if you tackle the problem head on, you don't run away, you face it with confidence and competence. You don't need her sympathy. You are certain that you're going to be able to overcome this problem. She's probably going to sleep with you right then and there because women are turned on by masculinity. So when it comes to relationships between men and women, do not expect equal treatment. The feminine and the masculine are judged by completely different standards. The rules that apply to her don't apply to you. You know that stereotype boyfriend-girlfriend problem where the woman is complaining about something and the man keeps offering solutions, and then the woman gets mad at the man saying, "Stop trying to solve my emotions. I just want you to listen to me." That's just how it is for women. They are processing their problems in the feminine way. Before they can even consider what practical tasks need to be completed, what actionable steps can solve this problem, there first needs to be a completely thorough exploration of all of the surrounding emotions. That's normal. That's the feminine response. That's how women process life. In low-quality women, it always takes the shape of complaining and victimhood. But in high-quality women, it just comes about with an emotional self-exploration and actually tapping into their self-awareness to make sure that they are emotionally in touch with what's going on. It's healthy, and men could actually learn from that. A high-quality woman is going to be able to move through those steps reasonably quickly because she's a self-aware woman, she's in touch with her emotions, but do not try and force her to skip those steps or there will be hell to pay. Women understand the world emotionally. That's how she processes life. But just because that's what works for her does not mean that she's going to tolerate that in you. You're a man and it's different. And so when it comes to her problems, she just wants you to listen to her emotions and not try and solve those problems. But when it comes to your problems, she expects you to be proactive at solving your own problems. I know that this is getting a little bit convoluted and I'm speaking in massive generalities. And of course there are exceptions and a million different types of nuance, but just stay with me here. As a man, you never really get that experience of full validation of your victimhood. No one is really going to sit down with you as a grown man and say, "Wow, tell me about how tough things have been for you. I want to know what your pain and your struggle has been like." They're never going to give you that reassurance like, "Yes, life has been incredibly unfair. God, this must be so hard for you." You might get that a little bit from your mum or your therapist or like a close group of male friends, but very rarely in a romantic context. Evolutionarily, women are just not hardwired to care about a man's pain. The expectation is that men are meant to be taking care of them. They don't want to have to take care of men. That's not how this works. The closest thing that men ever really get to acknowledgement of their pain and their struggles is recognition of the difficulties that they have faced after they have been overcome. What I mean is that after you become really successful, like you become this really wealthy, rich businessman, people will love to hear about the challenges and struggles that you faced, as a young man on your trajectory upwards. All of the hardships that you went through just serve to elevate the grandness of the position that you now find yourself in. And people will listen to those difficult stories about your past. You see, women will tolerate a man's pain when it's in the context of, look what I overcame to be successful. But a guy who is not a success, and all he has to show for his numerous struggles is a well-practiced script of how difficult life has been, how unfair everybody has treated him, why he's the ultimate victim. Women are never going to tolerate that. Now, the fact that women are reluctant to ever acknowledge or recognize this doesn't mean that men don't have legitimate grievances and they don't have a strong case for victimhood. Life is brutally difficult for every human, regardless of gender. Women have their own issues. We hear about them every single day. But you could actually make the case that because men's struggles, men's pain, so often goes unacknowledged, that we actually suffer that pain more acutely. That's why I'm an advocate for any social movement that works to destigmatize male emotions, because mental health is important. I'm a big believer in therapy. I've had personal experiences, really positive ones, with therapists. I know heaps about emotions and psychology, but still, at age 33, I'm dealing with all this leftover crap from childhood. It just takes time, it takes effort to clear out all the crap in your mind to make room for the awesome. So if you haven't tried therapy yet, I highly recommend it. I've got links in the description box for online therapy resources. Check them out. But that's the important distinction. You don't want to turn your girlfriend into your therapist. They're different roles. And I'm not saying that you go to therapy for a massive complaint fest and that's the place that you indulge your victimhood. It's not like that. It can be an empowering place with lots of practical steps on how to move through your issues. Because I'm not claiming that men are somehow victims of women's, cold, uncaring, nature and how they don't care about men's problems. The truth is that most masculine men don't actually want to be victims. It doesn't sit right with us. We want to be action-oriented. We want to get shit done. It's worthwhile taking stock of your current group of male friends and ask yourself, are these guys who are masculine? Are they going places? Are they ambitious? Are they uplifting? Are they always improving themselves? Or am I hanging out with a bunch of loser guys who just sit around and complain and they're lost in their own victimhood? Also, be careful what news media you follow and what online communities you're a part of. I never would have believed that victimhood was such a marketable product, but the world is so crazy. I really want to stress again that in me talking about how women aren't going to tolerate victimhood in men, I'm not saying that men don't have real issues that are affecting them and that they don't deserve our compassion. There is a fine line that you have to find where you acknowledge the difficulties you've been through and you show kindness and compassion and self-love towards yourself, but you never allow it to tip over into the toxic side where you come to believe that there is nothing that you can do, that everything is doomed and that the only thing that's left to you is to complain. For me personally, I feel especially sorry for guys who are born ugly because looks-based discrimination is incredibly real. That phenomena I've documented many times on this channel, but it seems to me that when you get lost in a victimhood complex surrounding your looks, you're just adding one more weight to you that's holding you back, holding you down, and that's not empowering and it's not masculine. I also want to say that the topic of female response to emotions is very complex, very nuanced, and I've done like 5 or 6 videos on this in the past. So if you're curious to know, whether it's possible for women to actually feel any empathy for men and whether or not in your long-term relationships you're ever going to be able to open up to women, yes, of course you are. It's just that there are very unique, specific ways to do that. And I've covered them in other videos. I think I'll put a list to all of those videos, all of the ones I've done on male emotions to women in the description box. So if you want to do a deep dive, check them out. Can you play too hard to get as a man? Are sex toys ever a good idea in a relationship? And what are my thoughts on prenuptial agreements? All of these topics and many more are covered in exclusive videos available on my Patreon page. This includes the topic of my latest video, How to recover from a toxic mother. I talk about the psychology of a single mother and a son and the surrogate spouse syndrome, or what's more commonly known as emotional incest. I talk about the two very different responses that men often have, either becoming a rescuer or a misogynist. I talk about what the impact a toxic mother is going to have on your romantic relationships and how to move through that. And lastly, I talk about the importance of shedding the feminine value system that you were raised with and adopting a more masculine mindset. If you were raised by a toxic mother and you're concerned about what impact that's having on your life now, I highly recommend you check out this video. For every video that I post on YouTube, I post an additional bonus video on my Patreon page. That means that at the moment, you're only seeing half of the total content that I create. If you would like access to the other half, then please go and sign up at my Patreon. It's just a $5 a month subscription and you get instant access to a whole bunch of exclusive content. It's a wonderful way to support the channel and I would love to see you over there.